In the early hours of the morning, the city of Kyiv once again found itself under the shadow of war. A series of powerful explosions rocked the Ukrainian capital as Russia launched another wave of missile and drone strikes, marking the second deadly assault within 24 hours. Air raid sirens echoed across the city as residents rushed for shelter, while Ukrainian defense systems lit up the night sky, attempting to intercept the incoming barrage. Officials in Kyiv have confirmed multiple casualties and significant damage to residential buildings, infrastructure, and parts of the city's power grid. Emergency services worked through the night, rescuing survivors trapped beneath the rubble and extinguishing fires ignited by the impact of the strikes. This latest attack underscores a grim reality for Ukraine, as Russia intensifies its aerial campaign just as the cold season begins to tighten its grip. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the strikes, calling them a deliberate act of terror designed to break the spirit of the Ukrainian people. In a late-night address, he renewed his call to Western allies for additional air defense systems, particularly the American-made Patriot missile batteries, arguing that the country's ability to defend its skies is critical not only for Ukraine but for European security as a whole. Zelensky emphasized that every Patriot system deployed saves lives, prevents blackouts, and preserves critical infrastructure. He warned that without strengthened air defenses, Russia would continue to exploit the vulnerabilities in Ukraine's current system, targeting civilians and essential services. The renewed plea comes as Ukraine's defenses have been stretched thin by months of relentless attacks. Despite intercepting the majority of incoming threats, gaps remain in coverage, especially around major urban centers like Kyiv, Dnipro, and Kharkiv. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, several of the missiles used in this latest strike were of advanced design, capable of maneuvering to evade radar detection. This evolution in Russian tactics has further complicated Ukraine's ability to protect its cities, heightening calls for modern Western technology and munitions. International response to the strikes has been swift. Leaders from the United States, the European Union, and NATO have issued statements condemning the attacks, reiterating their commitment to supporting Ukraine's defense. The White House reaffirmed its intention to continue supplying weapons and financial aid, but political divisions in Washington have delayed the approval of new assistance packages. In Europe, discussions are underway about increasing collective contributions to Ukraine's defense fund, though several member states remain cautious amid growing economic pressures at home. Analysts say that the timing of these latest attacks may be significant. Russia's renewed escalation appears aimed at undermining Ukraine's morale and energy infrastructure as winter approaches, a strategy similar to that seen in previous years. By targeting power plants, heating systems, and water facilities, Moscow is attempting to impose psychological and logistical strain on both civilians and the military. However, Ukrainian officials insist that such tactics will not force the country into submission, vowing to rebuild and continue resisting. On the ground, the human toll continues to mount. In Kyiv, witnesses described scenes of panic and destruction. Families were seen, huddled in underground metro stations, which have once again become makeshift shelters for thousands seeking refuge. Emergency personnel reported that among the casualties were both civilians and first responders, who were attempting to assist those injured in earlier strikes. Hospitals are struggling to cope with the influx of wounded, while power outages have disrupted communications and essential medical services. Despite these hardships, the resilience of Kyiv's residents remains evident. People helping one another, volunteers distributing food, and communities uniting in defiance of fear. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Russian officials have justified the attacks as part of what they describe as special military operations, targeting Ukrainian military and logistical assets. Kremlin spokespersons maintain that the strikes are aimed at weakening Ukraine's defense capabilities, though evidence on the ground shows repeated hits on civilian structures and densely populated neighborhoods. The Russian Ministry of Defense released statements claiming that precision weapons were used to destroy foreign-supplied military equipment, though Ukrainian authorities dispute these claims, stating that most of the affected areas were far from any legitimate military targets. Experts suggest that this ongoing exchange of claims and counterclaims is part of a broader information war, a struggle not only over territory but also over global perception, as images of destroyed apartment blocks and displaced families circulate worldwide. International opinion continues to weigh heavily in favor of Ukraine's plight. Human rights organizations have condemned the attacks as violations of international law, urging the United Nations to take stronger action to protect civilians. Yet the Security Council remains divided, with Russia holding veto power that effectively blocks collective measures against its actions. In his latest statement, President Zelensky reiterated that Ukraine's determination remains unshaken. He expressed gratitude to allies who have stood by the country since the full-scale invasion began in 2022, but stressed that words of solidarity must now be matched with concrete assistance. The Patriot system, capable of intercepting ballistic and cruise missiles at high altitudes, has become symbolic of Ukraine's plea for protection. Military analysts note that while Ukraine already operates a limited number of such systems, their geographical coverage is insufficient to protect all major cities. Additional units could dramatically increase interception rates and reduce casualties in future strikes. For many Ukrainians, the sound of explosions and air raid sirens has become an unwanted part of daily life. Yet amid the fear and destruction, a sense of unity continues to prevail. Across the country, volunteers, soldiers, and ordinary citizens are working together to restore power, clear debris, and provide support to displaced families. In Kyiv's central square, candles have been lit in memory of those who lost their lives in the latest attacks. A quiet, powerful reminder of both loss and resilience. As night falls again over Kyiv, uncertainty looms. Residents brace themselves for the possibility of more air raids, while defense crews remain on constant alert. The distant hum of generators fills the air, a symbol of endurance in a city that refuses to surrender. The war, now deep into its third year, shows no signs of abating. Each new attack reinforces the urgent need for international unity and decisive action. For Ukraine, survival depends not only on courage, but also on the world's willingness to stand firm against aggression. The situation continues to evolve by the hour. What remains clear, however, is the unyielding spirit of the Ukrainian people, a nation that, despite devastation, continues to fight for its right to exist freely. And as Kyiv rebuilds once more from the ashes, the world watches, hoping that peace may still emerge from the rubble of war.